Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Thanks to the team over at Shozy Store. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Threezero Transformers Bumblebee Premium Scale Blitzwing. Threezero did put out a DLX Blitzwing way back in 2019, but thought, hey, let's make it bigger. And that is exactly the figure we shall be taking a look at in today's video. Now, for those of you looking to hit self-destruct on your bank accounts, this guy is currently available over at Shozy Store. So for that, of course, I shall pack a link down in the description box below. And with all that being said, let's get stuck straight here into the video and start off by taking a look at this colossal figure's accessories. So starting off, firstly, you can see that we've got the wicked Blitzwing Norway cannon that we see him use to try and take down B-127 with in the movie. As per tradition with Threezero, this has been painted and sculpted impeccably and gives us what is potentially our best look at this weapon yet. You can see an amazing variety of gunmetal grey as well as some red bullets, and we've even got some sharper details such as these awesome huge missiles attached onto the sides. And as we take a look here at the main cannon itself, this has been weathered appropriately and once again looks exactly how it did in the movie. Weapon implementation is easy enough. All we have to do is rip clean off the lower portion of Blitzwing's arm and replace it with our all new awesome looking Norway cannon, which honestly creates for such a fantastic display. And if you're looking to take down Bumblebee, this is definitely the weapon that you're going to want your Blitzwing equipped with. Next up, we also do get included the Bumblebee voice extractor, also known as what they refer to as the Electron Spike. This looks fantastic. Honestly, much like the DLX version, there is as much detail, if not even more, packed into this, and you can clearly see the actual fingers of Blitzwing wrapped around this segment as it did transform out of the middle palm. In the movie, you can see here we've even got the thumb. The attention to detail is just fantastic. Some really nice golden highlights, and of course this really jagged blade there at the top. In order to in fact actually implement it into the figure, very simplistic. So we basically just pop the pre-existing fist clean off and then just peg on the voice extractor, and Blitzwing is ready to go about murdering Bumblebee. And the third and final, and arguably most unique accessory that this Blitzwing comes with is indeed the missile rack that ultimately causes the demise of this character. You can see this too has also been sculpted and painted impeccably well and comes with two distinct unique missiles, of which do in fact actually have magnetic capabilities, of which I'll touch base with in just a second. In order to attach this onto Blitzwing's forearm, much like in the movie, you rip Blitzwing's forearm panel clean off and of course replace it with our all new missile barge. But Threezero went the extra mile to in fact incorporate removable missiles, of which you can in fact actually attach onto the torso region of Blitzwing by simply popping the cap off the end and magnetizing it there into the torso region, of course to recreate his demise from the first opening sequence of Bumblebee. Ah, fuck! And moving right along, here we have the murderer of voice boxes himself, Blitzwing. And the painting and the sculpting on this figure is immaculate. Much like the DLX version before him, this is one of the best representations of Blitzwing that we've seen from the Transformers Bumblebee movie. However, with the enhancement of the premium scale format, truly has allowed Threezero to pack a ton load more detail into this figure, making it probably the most accurate version of this character to date. Starting off with the head sculpt, fantastic. You can see all of the components that we saw in the film, such as that really distinguishable breather mask and those incredibly red piercing beady eyes. We've also got some additional details that perhaps the DLX version weren't able to accomplish, such as the metallic green highlights at the top of the forehead, and even as we take a look at the back of the head, this too has also been fully sculpted and painted. As we move down to the lower region of the cockpit, this is truly where you're going to be able to appreciate some of the amazing paintwork that Threezero in fact actually applied to their products, as the actual plane components have all been weathered appropriately in order to create for a more realistic feel, of which personally to me looks as if though it's been ripped directly out of the movie. They've even added some additional details of which perhaps you wouldn't even notice, such as a fully sculpted internal cockpit, of which unless you have this figure under incredibly harsh lighting conditions, you won't even be able to see due to the orange plastic actually concealing it. As we take a look at the intakes on the side of the arms, these two are massive, once again look incredible and have a variety of individual decals scattered all the way throughout them. And as we take a look at the forearms and biceps, these are just loaded with not only incredible paintwork but also fantastic sculpt work. In particular would be where the forearms are concerned. Much like the DLX version, we've got all of the various different tubes and pistons that were present on the CGI model. However, this time with the larger format, it has allowed Threezero to individually sculpt the fingers, of which look incredibly menacing and exactly how they appeared in the movie. Much like the DLX counterpart, Threezero have decided to leave the USAF logos off the wings. I put that down to the simple fact of licensing. As we take a look at the legs of Blitzwing, these two look absolutely fantastic. We do in fact actually have some additional tubing detailing going on where where the hips are concerned, and the thighs, much like the rest of the figure, are fully loaded with various different mechanical components, nuts and bolts, and truly some astonishing paintwork. Even the lower section of the leg is incredibly thick and robust, and surprisingly, despite there being no USAF decals on the wings themselves, we do in fact actually have them slap bang here on the side of the legs. So not entirely sure as to what's going on there, but you can see that in regards to this minute decals that we have actually going on for the shins, these two all make for a very nice touch, and even the feet have been just as detailed as, say, a more vital component such as the head, with fully distinguishable almost lights attached to where the toes would be, and of course the actual foot section being held together via two awesome rubberized wheels. As we spin our attention to the back of Blitzwing, this is just as detailed as the front. You can see the sculpt work on the back of the wings truly does look fantastic, with that darker wash applied over the top and a whole host of nuts and bolts. If you move the wings out to the side, you can in fact actually expose some internal mechanical detail, of which once again I think looks absolutely incredible. Overall, this is by far one of the best looking Blitzwing toys that personally I've seen out there, and with the scale truly does make this to be one of the best showstoppers that I currently own in the collection. In regards to LEDs, Blitzwing certainly is not short of them by any stretch of the imagination. So first up, of course, we do have an LED situated in the head. To activate this, you simply push the crest, which will cause the eyes to slowly, very creepily, in fact, actually turn on, which really does expose some of the magnificent detailing that we've got packed into the transparent segments of the eye sockets themselves. As we turn our attention to the back of Blitzwing, unlike the DLX counterpart, all of the afterburners do in fact actually light up. So in order to activate the ones here on the back, you do in fact actually have to remove a back piece and simply just flick a switch on, which will cause the two afterburners to in fact, much like the eyes, pulsate a really awesome burning orange. Then as we take a look at some of the more lower afterburners, these are easily activated by simply just pushing on the underside, and they too will also respectively light up. Personally, I would have loved a very similar mechanism to in fact actually activate the ones that we've got hanging out on the back, as removing that back piece definitely can become a little frustrating, especially for just general posing and displaying. Moving along to articulation, as this is a premium scale figure, this does in fact actually pull off pretty much any pose that you guys could wish for Blitzwing. So starting off, firstly, we'll take a look here at the range of the head. We do indeed get a ball joint at the head and the neck section itself, so this allows for a fantastic range looking all the way up, as you would expect from a character of whom can fly. It can also look down to a pretty decent range. However, depending on how you pose it, he will basically just be looking dead straight on at his cockpit. This does also allow the head to tilt left to right, which is fantastic, and of course rotate the full 360. The shoulder pad is on a ball joint, so will hinge out of the way and of course rotate left to right, and there too is also an additional flap of which you can hinge just to allow the actual shoulder itself to reach a fantastic range, so you can definitely get that bending way past 90. We also do get a full rotation at the bicep, and as per tradition with Threezero products, a fantastic double jointed elbow, which truly does allow this guy to get into some terrific poses. In order to in fact actually access the articulation here for the wrist, the instructions recommend that you take the forearm guard and just slowly recess that section backwards, which will allow for a full range to hinge back and forth, rotate the full 360, and as mentioned previously, the fingers too are all individually articulated at I believe 3 points, allowing you to pull off some incredibly menacing poses. The wings too are also packed load of joints, so you can swivel them up and down as well as hinge them back and forth, and as per tradition with Threezero figures, we do also see the return of a fantastic ab crunch. However, due to the enormous weight actually implemented on the figure via the wings, it doesn't always sadly hold into place, so this is definitely where personally I would have liked to have seen the return of some ratchet joints. But as we just hinge that section down, the pistons at the front of Blitzwing can be hinged up and down in order to get out of the way of the really cool waist rotation, so you definitely can get this guy pulling off a fair few dynamic poses, and as you guys would expect, he can in fact actually do the split, although it is recommended that we just drop down the thigh panel just like this, which does allow for a almost 90-degree range of motion, which is terrific. Of course, we can take this and ratchet this section all the way forward. We do also get some fantastic engineering where the knee joint is concerned, so this can bend way past 90, and all of the knee armaments will in fact actually move in accordance to this, which truly is the icing on the cake. And then finally, as we spin our attention here down to the lower section of the foot, this can be pivoted forwards, backwards, rock side to side, and they've even gone the extra mile to in fact actually allow for a bit of articulation where the wheels on the toes are concerned. Size comparison wise, did I mention that this figure is in fact massive, being even bigger than the premium scale Volkswagen Bumblebee, as well as even the DLX offering. I think that in regards to a scale, he'd probably be best paired with that DLX Bumblebee, as the premium format just seems ever so slightly too big, especially when in comparison to a fighter jet and a Volkswagen Beetle. For even more Bumblebee movie size comparisons, we have our premium premium offering compared next to the DLX version, and a variety of Studio Series Deluxe class figures. So you can see that this is most certainly an enormous piece, and for those of you who are perhaps after an almost Titan class version of Blitzwing, I definitely think it's going to look really imposing alongside some of the Bumblebee movie Deluxe Autobots. And so, some final thoughts for the Threezero premium scale Transformers Bumblebee movie Blitzwing. Overall, as you would expect from an almost $600 figure, this is awesome. In regard to the level of accuracy that Threezero have managed to achieve with this piece, it's pretty unmatched when in comparison to any other version of Blitzwing out there on the market. Perhaps let's say their DLX offering. I guess the biggest question about this particular figure will be, does the price in fact actually justify the quality, especially considering how awesome that DLX offering is for significantly less. Personally, I really like this figure because I've always been a huge fan of the premium scale format. However, the DLX version does do a lot of things that this version does. With the addition of LEDs in the afterburners and a few areas of which have been sculpted slightly more set to the side, is this version really that much more accurate when in comparison to the significantly cheaper offering? Honestly, I'm going to say no. I do think that DLX version is incredibly well done, and to be honest, when I actually got this figure in hand, I wasn't as blown away as perhaps I would be from their Transformers The Last Night Megatron. I personally put that down to the simple fact that having handled the DLX version, I really was expecting something spectacular of this, and don't get me wrong, the piece is incredible, it just doesn't have that wow factor now that we do have that smaller offering, which basically achieves the same look at a much cheaper price point. Of course, for those of you who are die-hard completionists of the Threezero premium scale collectible line, that this is definitely going to be one to add to the collection. I personally have picked up all of their premium format figures, and this figure definitely doesn't disappoint by any stretch of the imagination, but just in regards to affordability, I personally would say that if you are after a high-end version of Blitzwing, then perhaps look more towards their DLX offering, as this guy is definitely going to burn a huge hole in anybody's bank account. I think the articulation is incredible. This does in fact actually have some die-cast construction, something of which is indeed new for these premium scale figures since Threezero took over the license from 3A. I think the detail is incredible. The accessories are a really nice bonus. In particular would be the addition of that missile rack, and the fact that you can indeed actually pop the cap off and magnetize to the torso, I think is a really nice touch. I do like the LEDs that they've packed into the afterburners. I maybe would have liked to have seen that one on the backpack slightly engineered a little better, just so that it was easier to turn it on and off instead of having to remove an entire back panel. But with all that being said, this is undeniably the best version of movie Blitzwing that is currently out there to purchase, and it will no doubt go down as one of the biggest showstoppers slash holy grail pieces that I own in my entire collection. With all that being said, for those of you who are looking to add this guy to the collection, he is currently available over at Showzy Store, so for that of course I shall pack a link down in the description box below, and be sure to let me know your thoughts on both the figure and the review down in the comments. I thank you all for watching, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.